Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 41 of the Titanforge podcast. My name is Dratnos, joined by my friends Tettles.
Hey, well, hello, Dratnos. Hello, Trell.
Welcome. And our friend Trell.
Hello, everybody. My name is Trell.
Hello. Good to hear you, Trell. So this week we are back to our regular timing, which will continue going forward for... I don't know. until
the MDI starts.
Until the MDI starts or something comes up that makes one of us unable to go on a Saturday or whatever. But that's the plan.
We'll continue weekly.
Yes, no matter what happens, barring some kind of thing that we couldn't prepare for, we're going to be coming out weekly, even if it's not at this time going forward. So, and you can always catch the show. If you miss it live, you can catch it on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube, all those places, anywhere you can find a podcast, hopefully. So that is the plan. But this week, we have a bunch of changes to the game that we're going to talk about. So last week, for instance, we recorded on a Wednesday or Thursday or something. And then the day after, they announced this big account-wide essence system.
Yes.
Yeah, that was not very cool from Blizzard. It's a good system, it's cool that they're implementing it. Not cool that they did it the day after we recorded our show with 10 days until our next show.
I feel like this is very common, where it's like records show, hotfix notes saying that what you said on show is wrong, cry.
Yeah. So this week we are going to talk about those changes. In addition to, we've got a bunch of other small changes to the game that have been made. We've had a census taken recently that Tettles put together of all of you listeners that we'll go through as well. Talk about, the data that we've gleaned from the surveys that you guys have filled out if you have done that. And we'll also talk about the Keystone Masters tournament that was like a MDI-style community-run thing that all of us were involved in some way or other. So those are kind of the main topics for this week. But first, let's thank our supporters over at patreon.com/Titanforge, contributing to the show and making it possible for us to record this thing every week. They are Ahar of US Proudmore, grats on the Zoth. Paul of US Proudmore, also grats on the Zoth. King of Skills, VTech XD. Zuko, Ja, Uncle Please Invite, Khalifa Deepog. Drunk Swede from Legion of Lemmings, Argent Dawn EU. Shirtless Tettles, Tootsie, Heltari, Ishiyu, Blue of Emerald Dream. Chromed, Seraphicus, Trekkie, the Marsh Hare, Regulus, Never Nude, Grizzjam, Chewy, Trell Balanced Corruption, and Coke Dogs Gopher. Thanks, thanks so much.
Man, these names are getting wild.
Yeah, they are getting absolute. And you guys, if you're interested in changing your name to be more or less wild, just let us know. Add us in the Discord channel, and Tettles will take care of it. At Tettles, he'll take care of it.
I actually saw, I think Tootsie is doing MDI, or at least they signed up for a team.
Really?
I don't know about anybody else. I didn't scroll through a lot. I was like just clicking through some of the participant teams, and I did see they were doing it.
Yeah, there's it's gonna be an awesome MDI season. A lot of teams that I'm really looking forward to seeing, play. Really, some ones that have just signed up are gonna be fun to watch. Especially now that it's split into East and West, and NA and EU are on different, regions. There's gonna be a lot of room for teams that I know of that, 16 can now make every cup weekend or every cup instead of 8, right?
Team Dratnos and Jason can now make top 8.
Oh yeah, but for a couple of reasons that team isn't going this time. Who knows though? Maybe next MDI. Yeah. Okay. So let's start by talking about the Keystone Masters tournament. This happened last weekend. This is why we couldn't record during the weekend last weekend. So to recap, Tettles was a caster. I was a competitor on day 1, and Trell was a competitor on days 1 and 2. Those are our different jobs. My team, Account-Wide Essences, we lost to Method NA. Had a pretty close match, though, actually.
In the King's Dress?
Yeah, the King's Dress, we were ahead for a while. We wiped to King Desire twice. That was why we lost that map, but
That one was
If
a
there
roller
wasn't some
coaster.
fuckery in the Toldegor, account-wide essences also could have won that.
Yeah, Toldegor, we Titanforged some explosive spawns like we had never Titanforged them before, which that's always fun.
Love that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we could have killed, we could have played better. We could have definitely played better in that place. Yeah,
There was definitely an Eastern region King's Rest going
yeah.
on.
The King's Rest ended up being something like 25 seconds difference, and we wiped twice to Dazar, but I think they wiped once to it as well. So it's not like we were that far ahead. Their
Man,
base.
it was
They wiped
tragic.
twice is some bullshit. I don't
One of
remember.
the-
what it was.
Yeah.
One of their wipes was Lighty leaped to go get the kick on the Void Weaver mob after picking up threat on the other mini bosses, and then while he leaped, it snapped all the mini bosses midair, and they all evade reset and then killed the group.
So whenever like Demon Hunters will do the double jump thing, whenever Dazar targets them with the Quaking Leap, if you like double jump, Dazar will like land his Quaking Leap in the middle of the air and like just sit there for a few seconds. I bet it was something weird like that, where that room. I bet that room is what does that.
Yeah, that
That's
room
kind of
is
strange.
screwed
I
up.
never thought about that.
Yeah, there's some like I think you can also there's stuff you can leap over that'll do bad things. There's like some little 3D stuff on the ground that I think if you
Yeah.
leap over, bad things happen.
I
Yeah,
think it's
Probably
definitely related.
yeah.
Okay.
Trell had some more luck in the tournament though. Took the win in round 1 over the boys. How was that?
That was very satisfying. They're a close and skill group to us, I think, and we knew it was going to be close. I think we had more risky but faster routes than they did, and we paid for it in the first round that we did. We lost the Waycrest, and then the second 2 games we just performed a little stronger, and I think they had a DC as well, but we were ahead anyway at that point in one of the games. Either way, it was a fun match.
Yeah, that was the only round 1 match where neither team used their corrupted token either. So the corrupted token system was you had a preset list of maps that you'd be playing in each series, but once per tournament, each team could use a corrupted token to change the map to any other map that hasn't been played in the series. And that was a huge strategic thing that typically the way that it ended up being used was the underdog would use it against the favorite team. All the round 1 matches except for Trell's, the lower seeded team used it against the team that was seeded higher. And then going forward, the teams kind of used them a little bit more freely. But yeah, it was interesting that nobody used it in your match, Trell. Neither you nor the boys. I guess because you guys were saving it for Method, like whichever of you won.
Yeah, we were both up. We are going to play Method EU the next
Yeah.
match after that, so I think that was the plan for both of them. And man, we almost got Method EU. It was so close.
Yeah, so you guys got to you got to play Method EU. How did that match go?
That one felt really good. We almost. Well, actually, I'd say we did exactly as we planned for in both the first 2 dungeons, and we actually beat them in Freehold, and then we were really, really close in beating them in Underrot, which is our. And then, very surprisingly to us, they used their coin on the 3rd map, and that's their only time throughout the whole tournament. And we got their coin out of the way, and so they took us to a dungeon we hadn't set foot in for a week and a half, and we got owned.
Oh yeah, shout out Nataldazar with their 11-minute run or whatever. Like they wiped and they still finished that dungeon in like 13 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
so
could have if we would have practiced that first pull like once or twice before that, just expecting something like that. I think we would have had a chance, but man, we were not ready for that pull.
So yeah, that was an interesting thing is that both Method NA and Method EU used their coins there in their semifinals matches rather than saving them for the finals.
Method NA's coin versus Gromnak Waiting Room is that was the most clutch thing ever with it. Okay, so Gromnak Waiting Room coined away from Siege of Borealis, and it was kind of known that they didn't practice it at all. And then Method NA lost the pick that Gromnak coined into, and the Method NA 3rd map instantly takes them back to Borealis, and fucking Gromnak Waiting Room is playing like Alliance Borealis, which just means that they didn't have Horde characters even set up. You're just like, all right, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have had to if Method NA had coined us into Siege, we were also playing Alliance characters in that thing on day 1. That was
that was really funny that they were just Alliance characters. And they were like, "Why are they Alliance?" I'm like, "Because they didn't have Horde characters. I bet they didn't practice it. Like, if you're only gonna play it once the whole tournament, you're not gonna play that."
Trell,
we created Horde characters, but we didn't. Luckily, we didn't get picked on Siege.
what did you think of the corrupted token as a player, Trell? Would you like to see something like that make its way into the MDI?
I have mixed feelings about it. I think it was really cool, and it was a really cool strategic thing to do to like save your team or plan to take out a higher seed than you. I think that's. However, it did make you have to kind of be prepared for all 12 maps, which is or 11 maps, I guess, which is kind of too much. You know, you just can't practice 11 maps. It's not possible with normal time frame.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't. I don't think anybody can feasibly practice all the maps in that time frame and be okay.
So my perspective on the corrupted tokens is okay. Like in an 8-person bracket, I think it's a really good thing for seeds like 8 and 7 because they are gonna just get to like coin the first and second seeds onto their best possible map, and that series is a lot likely to be closer than it would have been with a preset map thing. I think it's also good for seeds 1 and 2 because eventually at some point later in the tournament they're going to practice all the maps and they'll get to use a coin against somebody else to do something cool. But for the medium seeds, it's in a rough spot where like you don't really want to use it against the other medium seeds, and like you can use it against the first seeds, but they also can use it back on you and blow you out in a map that you hadn't practiced. So it kind of doubles the amount of maps that you have to practice as a medium seed team. And that I can definitely see being not ideal.
Well, okay, so in all fairness, I do think so with the way that Keystone Masters and MDI functions right now, I feel like there's almost zero room for underdog. Like stories or upset wins most of the time. I feel like by and large, you kind of know who's going to win, like generally speaking, right? Of course, there's going to be some variance, and especially if some teams have just like a bad day. But generally, you're going to know who's going to win beforehand. But with the token system, you can have better underdog ratios where some of those lesser teams, like you were saying, are able to take games or even a full match off of a higher seed team.
Yeah, like we were better on our non-coin map than our coin map. King's Dress was not a coin. Toldagor was our coin, and we
are evil.
Well, yeah, we looked at the map at the math and like the bracket, and there were three dungeons that they were not going to go to naturally, so it made sense to coin to one of them. One of them was the Underrot, which there's it's hugely practiced and well-known dungeon for this team, and the MDI poll is so different from the live polls in there.
I actually think picking the Toldagor is actually a good call relative to what they're good at.
We didn't want to coin Underrot. We didn't want to coin a Taldazar because that was a time trial map, so even though it wasn't in their tournament, it was still going to be something that they were practiced on, and their time in it was a bit better than ours. And then that kind of left us with Toldagor by process of elimination. Yeah.
No, I do feel like it does give some nice head-to-head value because it feels like a lot of the time the teams aren't actually playing head-to-head; they're just playing like independent of one another. So it does give some like strategic head-to-head value, which is kind of nice. I don't know. It's an interesting system. I don't know how I truly feel about it.
That's true.
I did like it though.
Yeah, I think it's something that I'd like to explore more as well because you're right. Most of the time, like you could in the MDI you could give me like a match and you don't have to tell me who I'm playing against for my decision to be made, right? Like it kind of matters a little bit. Like I'm gonna pull a little bit more risky if I'm up against a like Method EU than I am against an 8th seeded team or something. But it's really not that important, right? You're mostly just kind of playing your own game by yourself. And Corrupted Tokens, I think, did a pretty good job of changing that dynamic, which is cool. Another rules difference we saw in Keystone Masters compared to the MDI was the 1 spec limit. So you could not play double Unholy Death Knight, was kind of the biggest comp that was restricted by this. But you also couldn't play, 2 Outlaw Rogues or something like you could have in previous MDIs as well.
Or 2 Resto Druids, or 2
Prot Warriors. Yeah, you could actually play multiple tanks in the Keystone Masters. So Keystone Masters did not require you to have a healer or a tank, or or 1 tank only or anything like that. Like the MDI actually does have that requirement this time around, but in practice, pretty much everybody just ran those 1-1-3 comps. Anyways,
I do seriously wonder if there was like room for some Vengeance Demon Hunter that's just like turbo inting the dungeon with 500 corruption, like, and then just they pop meta, they walk up, they're like, please, try to def procs the packets. They die, they're just like, all right, yeah, we win these.
Dude, Nerf and I went to a Toldagor and he had like 800 corruption on of Twilight, and we tried to pull like 1 croc 3 times in a row, and every single time he would die before anything procced. Just like to his eyeball, one-shotting him.
Yeah.
But the one time it did proc, he like one-shot the crocodile. So who knows? Maybe if you roll the 1% chance, you could win a key like that.
That is indeed very cool. And the corruption in the MDI in general is just kind of like an interesting, interesting challenge to solve. So yeah, that was the tournament. The one spec limit I think was pretty good to not see double unholy as much as we would have in the MDI, right?
I actually really like the one spec, even for the teams playing. It's especially good for the viewers because they just get to see more variety and hopefully more options because of that rule. But for our team, it was fun having a group of multi-classers that could play a bunch of different comps and test out and see which one was better day to day.
Yeah, we saw some specs. So like Rep Pally may have existed in the tournament only because of the one spec limit. That may have been. Yeah, we'll see if that makes it into the MDI. I think that it may still show up in the MDI. We've got Lip maining that and playing in the MDI for Method NA.
Unless Lip gets mind controlled, instantly Hodges his healer, instantly bops the boss.
Yep.
That's horrible. That happened to us in practice too, and that was one of the big reasons we swapped away from Rep Pally.
Imagine getting your boss bopped, and you're just like,
excuse me?
Belf that?
It's just like it causes the boss to live so much longer and then takes away your bop for the huge pull that you desperately need it for later. And it's just like, no, everything's
and
going wrong.
It's not like there's it's not like this is a better target for the mind control than the Unholy Death Knight as well, because if the Unholy Death Knight gets mind controlled, you're just doing 0 DPS on that pull. So like really the only better person to mind control is the Rogue.
Please Rogue.
Yeah, you're really hoping the Rogue gets hit by that on that boss. Anyways, it was an incredible tournament. Big kudos to all the organizers for Keystone Masters. Really excited to see what they do with it going forward. I'd like to see this tournament run twice a year even at least. And I love the experimenting. Yeah, on the tournament realm was awesome. Experimenting with weird rules was awesome. What did you guys think about the Keystone levels in here? So the levels were 16 for the time trials and 17 for the cups. Trial, did you feel like that was a little low, or were you happy with it?
I think either one was fine. They just need to stay consistent. And I said this in the MDI Discord too. I hate it when they put a level out there and then they change it the next week because you have to relearn the dungeons. It's not possible to just do the exact same plan on any given Keystone level. Like cooldown time exchange, defensive time exchange, how much damage you can do to beat certain checks. Because like a lot of MDI pulls are just kill every mob in this pull before you have to spend 6 kicks to stop their important abilities. And so when the level gets raised, suddenly you have less time to do that in, and it's not possible sometimes.
Tettles, how about you? Did you have a preference to the level?
I mean, for me, it's all the exact same, right? Like, not participating, it doesn't affect me any. Like, from a viewer experience, from a caster experience, it literally affects me 0.
Okay. Yeah, I think I liked it at 17 more than 16, and I think I might have liked it even at 18 more than 17.
18 would be a good spot, yeah, for MDI. I just hope they stay there.
Going much higher than that, we'd start to get into this rough spot where, like, our damage has scaled up a lot since previous patches, but our survivability hasn't scaled quite as much, especially because we're incurring these, like, Eye of Corruption, massive damage from that over the course of the dungeon. So going to a higher key level than, like, 18, we'd start to get in this range of very dead. So that might be scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. It remains to be seen what the MDI will choose and if they'll choose a consistent number or increase it over the course of the tournament, because historically the MDI has often increased the Keystone level over the course of the tournament. And that may happen again this time if they start low and realize they want to. Let's move on though to our tip of the week section. Tip of the week. This week mine is to get your rank 15 cloak this week if you can, because starting next week, you'll be able to earn Malefic Cores, which increase your corruption resistance further, but only if you got your cloak to rank 15 this week. If you delay this...
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. You start earning Malefic Cores the week after your cloak reaches rank 15, and you can earn 1 per week unless you are behind. If you're late to the party, you can earn 2 per week, but then you have to do N'Zoth and Day Horrific Vision instead of either or. So
is that heroic N'Zoth or is that mythic N'Zoth?
Normal or higher.
Normal or higher. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
LFR won't count, but the other difficulties will.
I think LFR is harder than normal N'Zoth.
Yeah, I think you may be right. Like, I mean, if you could get it from LFR, you would maybe queue up with 25 people and do that. But Yeah, it's not easy. I've heard people spend many hours in LFR and Azoth trying to get that thing down.
I'm disappointed that you and I forgot that we were supposed to
Yeah,
get
we were
world
gonna
first.
try and get world first LFR. Yeah, it's a good thing though that we didn't
Yeah.
because we would have to wake up so early.
We.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, Drell, what is your tip of the week?
My tip of the week is tanks looking to do hard content, namely High Mythic Plus. You should go for some versatile and surging vitality corrupt. On Tournament Realm, people have played around with it, and like the optimal sets, even below 40 corruption, you can reach 80 to 90% versatility, which sounds insane, but that's factoring in all the different versatility gains you have while in combat. Like Aegis versatility is way up there, Conflict and Strife versatility. Yeah. It doubles when you play the major essence of that, and you can proc the double versatility. All that combined, you can literally reach 80 to 90% verse, and that's a 45% damage reduction, as well as a lot more damage. So it's just like the giga survivability play.
Yeah, it's less damage than like Twilight Dev, right? But it still does do some damage.
Yeah, you want to drop a little bit of the versatility probably to gain some Twilight Dev damage when possible, but having that base versatility set is
I think having one Twilight Dev in that regard is probably better, just purely due to the threat. So you probably do want to spend 25 of your corruption budget from that on Twilight Dev, though.
That's true.
That seems like that makes sense, right?
Yeah, for sure. A Twilight Dev is just too powerful to not consider. The only problem with this whole system is that it's hard to acquire all these versatile pieces and surging vitality. So like on my Brewmaster, I only have one 8% versatility piece, and that's it. I just gotta wait it out, and hopefully I get good gear.
All right, let's take a look at Tettles' clip of the week. Speaking of Twilight Dev here, we've got a clip coming in from Atal Dazar from twitch.tv/Trelsky.
Oh no, please, not this.
Let's take a look at what happens here.
It's gonna be slow.
Troll is the back-to-back clip of the week champion here.
Kick off.
As you can see, facing your camera at a specific angle is very important, especially if you're running lots of Twilight Devastation, as it can pull mobs that you're not in combat
Look at that,
with.
man. Right as I swiped my camera across, it procced. I was
Oh,
killing an
no.
orb, and then I looked back, and it procced right at the wrong place.
And we got some mobs coming in through the wall there.
I hate it.
Oh no!
Delete that shit.
You do. Yeah, I've intentionally pulled some stuff through the wall with Twilight Dev in like Toldagor, you know, the raiders or whatever in the cages. I'll often like if we're gonna get them after anyway or whatever, I'll just aim my camera there, try and get them early. Yeah,
That's useful.
yeah,
Ish.
yeah.
I have pulled the witches in the courtyard through the wall. You know, the ones that's near the maggot corner pack?
Yeah.
I pulled the witches from the corner, and then it pulls everything in the courtyard with you. And you're like,
That's a bad
I guess we die.
Yeah. Twilight Devastation, I don't know. People say there's it's just a random RNG proc, that there's no skill to it. There's definitely skill in like aiming it. That is actually
true,
a legitimate like thing. You know, and we can
Especially
argue
while kiting.
we can argue whether or not it's like stupid that, you know, these things can happen pulling through walls, like maybe it is, but definitely yeah, the whether you hit, you know, 100% of your Twilight Devs or 90% is going to be a damage difference, and like you can always just be like, oh, it's RNG whether or not it procs at a bad time, but it's also the percentage of bad times for it to proc versus good times is based on your actions. So it's, you know, whether it's interesting or not, whether it's good kind of skill or not is up for debate, but it is definitely, there's definitely some gameplay to it at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's skill in it as a ranged.
especially as a ranged. Yeah,
I would say significantly less skill as melee. Or
as a
in
melee
tank.
DPS, it's probably at its lowest. As a tank, I think there is some, because like again, you are kiting.
There is a medium. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but range DPS is probably the role that like has the most work to do, because of course you gotta, you know, decide whether or not to be in range at all for it to hit.
25 yards, not the most feasible on a lot of things.
Yeah, you just get in this spot where you're really hoping on that final right before it despawns it'll connect.
Oh,
You ever-
or just
yeah.
Sky Captain Crag, where you're just standing there. You're like, I guess I just never hit this.
That's not a good one. Yeah, Skycap and Crag can often confuse poor, fragile, you know, Moonkin brains and get them run over by shark baits.
Poor Tuttles.
For those who don't know, there's another Tettles death to shark bait clip. You can find it.
I died to 15.
You can find it in our Discord.
Yeah, why wasn't that clip of the week?
Yeah,
I'm
because
going
Tettles
hunt
makes
for it.
clips of the week. All right. Our next topic this week is we're going to do a review of the Titanforge Census that Tettles put together. Thanks so much for putting that together, by the way, Tells. Why don't you give us an overview of what the census was, though, for somebody who may not know what we're talking about?
So basically, I was just trying to get some data on. I'm sure it's going to be skewed somewhat because it's basically people who want to fill out the census for our show. So it's going to be skewed somewhat. But realistically, I was just trying to get data as to what the viewers of the show enjoyed about relative what their skill level was, so we can cater shows a little bit better towards them. Also fielded some ideas, got some feedback on that. Just in general, it was just to try to structure and see where we were going to take some of our shows moving forward and see like what kind of content people were looking for.
Yeah, so we're going to use this to make some decisions about what kind of content to make going forward. We'll talk about the analysis that we are making from it as we go through the numbers. But the first question we asked was, what is people's preferred form of PvE content? We got 719 replies, and a little bit over half of people prefer both dungeons and raid. Of the people who have a preference, the overwhelming majority is dungeons over raids. But there are many more people that are interested in both than in either. So
yeah, and the reason for asking this this question is I was wondering if people were significantly more invested in dungeons than raid, like even to where it would eat into that both bar, to the point where it's like, I wonder if it really is to our benefit to make some of those raid shows even early on in the patch. But with it being so all right, so let's say about 60-ish% people prefer both. I think we're going to continue with a similar format to how we structured our shows, where raid is whenever the content is super current, and eventually it ends up tapering off. The first couple of shows of the patch is probably going to be more raid focused, and then dungeon content is going to be all of the rest of our shows basically. Unless we have something that's really specific that we want to talk about involving raid.
This was kind of going to be our plan anyways, right? Where raid is interesting to talk about when it's new, and then we don't talk too much about raid except maybe to revisit it once or twice before the next one comes out. And dungeons are kind of evergreen. All right,
we can always make content relative to dungeons. As for raids, it's it can get really boring really quick if we're not careful. So
yeah,
hitting it while it's hot is good, and then just letting it kind of taper off.
All right, our next question was, whenever you do dungeons in groups, do you pug 29%, play mostly with guildmates 39%, play with the Mythic Plus group 22%, and then there was a bunch of all of the above mixes and stuff, assorted stuff.
Yeah, pug plus group answers.
Ended up filling out the remaining slice
10%.
Yeah, 10% or so. So that is interesting. We saw mostly guildmates and pugging and Mythic Plus group kind of all having about equal proportions here, with the guildmates being the most popular way. Yeah.
I think realistically, what this means to us is that so we made a decent amount of shows on pugging keys. I think realistically, we need to probably make more shows as to how to improve as a group, and a little bit less as to how to pug. I think that's probably something that we should take away from that, is how to take your group of guildmates or your Mythic Plus group and push them to become better and to improve as a collective whole, and less of a how to get into groups.
Yeah, because if you added together the M plus group and the mostly with guildmates, it would you'd be above 50% there of the responses. And I think making stuff about how to pug is, valuable
it is
too.
Important.
I think
it's
that
very important.
Even people who don't pug primarily still benefit from learning how to pug better. But yeah, we'll use that to decide what kind of stuff to make. We definitely, a lot of people ask how to get a Mythic Plus group better, and we will try and make some content in that vein.
I also think we whenever Shadowlands beta starts coming around and we're all doing content related to that, I think creating a show as to how to approach the dungeons themselves and being able to figure out some of the nuanced tips and tricks and revolving around that is probably going to be set up for a good show as well.
How to learn how to do new dungeons.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting, and that's a skill that
Mechagon
Mechagon kind of tested it recently. But yeah, it's that's one of my favorite parts of new expansion. All right, our next question was about informative or opinion-based shows. So 63% of respondents preferred shows that are a mix of opinions and one informational topic. So the healer episode, the tank episode. 30% want information mostly. So these have been our dungeon episodes, our Talzar episode. tips for affixes and stuff. And then the remainder, less than 10%, were on the opinion mostly show. So talking about just our thoughts on things in the game. So this is no surprise here. I think people often will always say they prefer informational as well, even if they'll actually want more of a mix too. So that, these are things, for instance, where in a lot of games I've seen players kind of we're not great at saying that we like some fluff too, even if we do. But yeah, of course we're going to keep the show focused on informative stuff as much as we can.
I think I agree with that. I think in general we read a lot of comments that's like you should focus more on the information, and it's like I feel like yeah, sure, somewhat the information is like critically important, and like I don't think we want to like take away from having like one strong informational topic. In the same vein, it's like it would get really daunting if we have like a full show of only informational topics, like those the dungeon boss by boss stuff, and like the dungeon tips and tricks, and like the Untitled Chapter episode, and all of those, which was used as a reference point, is like sure those are good shows sometimes, but it's hard to digest in one like one full show. I feel like it's just too much information. I think it becomes information overload somewhat.
Yeah, it's definitely tough for us to make them as well. Like we start feeling fatigued an hour into those shows, right? And
we're just like, fucking get me out.
If we're feeling that way, I assume that's something that some listeners are going to be feeling as well.
I think we have to have a healthy balance of like informational content and then our personal opinions. Like people love when you guys are arguing and Dranos told Tettles that he was stupid. And then we just
yeah.
Well, Dranos and I have different opinions. We're allowed to have different opinions. I don't fucking care.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, it's just my opinion that he was stupid. I don't know what to tell you.
In my opinion, he was stupid as well. It's all good.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't fucking care.
He's so mad. Oh my goodness.
Dranos.
Tettles got so mad as well. I flamed him on Twitter yesterday. Joel, did you see this? Where
Method. Sorry, my cat is doing naughty things behind me.
Method announced their casting lineup for an upcoming Method Mayhem tournament.
Oh yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, and Tettles goes, "Why are all these casters so handsome?" And I was like, "Because you're not casting, lol."
Lol.
All right, let's get at it. Move on.
Oh my god.
All right. Next question we asked was, "Are you a part of our Discord?" And the answer here was actually quite a lot of people who aren't a part of our Discord. Which, especially given that this was a lot easier to access if you were a part of our Discord. I assume there are many people who listen, actively, but are not hanging out in our Discord. So we got to make sure that we don't require that for anything, and we will continue to make sure that we. Yeah, I mean, of course, we encourage everybody to join our Discord and everything, but we know people aren't all going to do that. So we want to make sure that even if you aren't in there, you can be part of everything.
But in a similar vein, about 25% of our Discord did respond to that question. So that was pretty good like user to response ratio from our Discord itself. So that was really good. We do appreciate the engagement. I feel like our audience is very engaged, and we're super thankful for the support and the help.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much to everybody who filled out that. We also got some other comments and stuff in there that we aren't going to show on screen, but we're taking all the feedback into account and deciding what to do going forward. But that the census aside, let's move on now to our other main topic this week, which is essences have gone account-wide. Essences have gone account-wide effectively. So it's not,
kind of.
It's not straight-up account-wide essences, but it's pretty close. So the way it works, you're in these Echoes of Nihilothik currency on any character that can buy any essences from the vendor, and you can buy essences from the vendor if you have another character on your account that you've logged into since the patch, or since the hotfix, that has a rank 3 essence that your main character, or that your character that you're on doesn't have. So a lot of people are surprised that they're not earning this currency on all their characters, because if you don't have any eligible essences, you're not going to earn it. But it's bound to your character, not to your account, so you can't. Yes. You have to earn the essence on the character that's going to use it still, You have to earn the echoes rather on that character.
And something that was also like really fucking stupid for like a large majority since this has been released was that there were role restrictions. So like say you played a pure DPS, you could not go on your tank character and get some of like the tank essences. Like of course you could get the Mechagon ones and the
rep ones,
and
which the rep ones were so they added in this exception where you could get the rep ones even if your character didn't have the right one, as long as you had any of the rep one on your account.
Yes.
But they didn't add that in for the others until yesterday. Yesterday they made a change where they have now made all of the role-based essences. If you have any of those rank 3 on your account, you can now get the others. And a side effect of that is even if you don't play an alt, you can now get the off-roll essences. Which I imagine this side effect is why they didn't want to do this from the start. Is because they didn't want to have, they didn't want you to be able to get your off-roll essences this way if you hadn't ever earned them.
So stupid.
But
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
This to me, this was a case of like the damage from not having it work this way was way bigger than the damage from having it work this way. So I'm glad they made this change.
I mean, okay, so I play a druid. I can buy any essence on any character. Like just straight up, I can buy any essence on any character because I play a druid. Like I have all three. Like I have healer, tank, and DPS. Not like if I'm playing a pure DPS and I want to play a healer or a tank, I am just boned.
So yeah, you like even if you were a DPS main, if you were playing a healer alt, the question of whether or not you could buy healer essences was based on whether your DPS main had a healer off spec or not, and that was silly. So very glad to see them fix that. Charles, what do you think about the rates of Echoes of Nyloth that you get from all these different kinds of content? So here's the chart of where you can get them, and you also get some out of your weekly box, quite a lot.
I think it's pretty easy to get an essence. I mean, just like opening your weekly chest and then doing 1 assault and 1 vision pretty much earns you an essence. And so like on all my alts, I opened my chest, did the invasion, later in the week did 1 vision when I had some spare time and just got a free rank 3 essence. I think it's reasonable. I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, so like if you play the character like very minimally, like you just do a weekly key and the major assault and maybe 1 minor assault, you get like an essence a week. If you play the character, more than that, if you play like some keys, you do some horrific visions on it, and your assaults, you're gonna get multiple essences per week. And you only need a couple essences before your character is like set, right? Like you buy your best major on day 1 of this hotfix or day 2. If you whatever you get it within the first week pretty early, and then you fill out whatever minors you need over the next couple days, and your character is set very, very quickly. You also get 75 from Heroic Darkshore. I've been doing some Heroic Darkshores on some fresh rat characters, collecting those 460s. So that's
Isn't there like an eye level requirement for Heroic Darkshore? Isn't it like not low either? Is it like 430?
Dude, you just make the group. You just make your own group. There's no eye level requirement to get in.
Oh, it's not the heroic one. It's the normal Darkshore.
Normal does have an eye level requirement. Heroic, I played at an eye level lower than would be required to queue for heroic, but by virtue of being the person creating the group, it doesn't matter. Like I would not have been able to get accepted into any groups if I was signing up for them, but creating the group, you're chilling. So
it's like abusing the LFG system. I see.
Well,
like
I was also
join a heroic. And you inspect the leader and you're like, wait a minute, they're like 400 eye level. That's
the thing though. That's the way these things work. Is one person gets to be undergeared because they've gone through the trouble of setting up the group. Now in my case, it wasn't hard because I turned on my stream and I was like, all right, Heroic Darkshore, come sign up, and just a bunch of people want to do it because I was streaming. But even if I wasn't, it would fill up pretty quick as an undergeared new character. So if you're trying to gear up a new character, start a Heroic Darkshore group. It'll take 10 minutes to fill or whatever, but it's a good way to get a 460. Other than that though, I think these sources this is a pretty good amount of Echoes of Nyloth that you're getting from most stuff. I think the big source that lets you get it really fast, turbo fast, is the Horrific Visions, right? 150 per full clear Horrific Vision is a lot of Echoes. You can get many essences per week, particularly on like if you have alts that you had some extra vessels on going into this week, you could get so many essences this week.
Yeah.
And for newish alts, this is not going to be a huge source. because you don't actually get all 150 until you start full clearing. But even then, for new alts, like you can do your emissaries even if you're trying to hard rush towards some mandatory essences, and everybody is going to have all their essences in like a couple weeks. So
all right, so a couple things I've actually seen on Twitter and a couple questions I want to pose. So the first one was I've seen people complaining about not being able to trade like essences from character to character. Personally, I feel like it's okay the way it is right now. How are you guys feeling about it?
I think it's okay. Yeah.
yeah, I have no complaint. I wouldn't have minded getting BOA stuff, but I also don't mind having to do assaults or horrific visions on my alts to get stuff on my alts. Like my problem with essences not being account wide was never that I didn't want to have to play the other characters to get power. It was that I didn't want to have to go do Eternal Palace or Nazjatar ally quests on my other characters. Yeah. So
you can do the content that you enjoy on your alts and still get your essences.
Right.
That's the big thing for me.
The other thing I saw is somebody was complaining. I think it was Lizelle. He was complaining about having to do quote content he still doesn't even want to do to be able to purchase to like get the Echoes of Nyalotha for his character. And I was like, I read that, I was like, dude, there's no way. I was like, you can't just not want to do horrific vision, like whatever.
Even if you don't do any horrific visions on your character, like what are you doing on your character? Are you like raiding PvP Mythic Plus? Those are all the like things that people do like because they think that's fun, and you get essences from all of those things. And I can understand in this first week, how you're if you're maybe like, okay, I want 2 essences. How am I going to get 1,000 echoes as fast as possible? And you're left feeling like you're doing some not fun stuff, but like. If you're willing to wait more than literally, 3 days, you're just going to get all the essences your character needs. Yeah. There are a lot of legitimate complaints about the system. The role locking thing was silly. You could maybe still make an argument about like returning players being left behind and requiring returning players to go to Eternal Palace or whatever is something that I'm still not feeling great about. But another great complaint about the system was that it came so late. But I don't think there's, I think a lot of the other complaints have been unfair. And
I agree. I feel like it's like an okay system. You should have to play the game to be able to like get stuff. Like what the hell? You can't just not play the game.
I mean,
yeah, you can literally just do visions and you'll get the essence.
There's a class of like tweeting people that are in like world top 10 guilds that basically every tweet they say is like the game should be tournament realm. It's just that phrase, but written in the context of like, here's the game mechanic on the live servers that make it the tournament realm. I would
love the game to be tournament realm, but I do see why it's not.
I would hate that. That's just like so unfun. Like,
yeah, I mean, again, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that for people to want that. Like, I think that those people probably would enjoy that, but. It's something to keep in mind is if somebody's always advocating for that, like that's probably why they like that explains how they react to everything that way, right?
Yeah,
it's because they just want everything to be tournament realm-y. Okay, another change that we saw coming in last week. Again, this was right after we recorded our show. Horrific Vision loot is always going to corrupt, and starting this week has always corrupted. So every item you get out of a Horrific Vision has been corrupted. You guys gotten any good items from Horrific Visions guaranteed corruption?
Nope. Oh, I did have a couple visions where I got 10 total mementos because I DC'd like instantly when I entered the vision. That was awesome.
That's true. You can still get Azurite as well, so Azurite not corruptible, of course. But all of the other stuff that not the Azurite levels will be corrupted.
Okay, so at the 460 level, what is the equivalent of like a 3 mask at base? You have the opportunity to get a piece of Azurite. Same at the 445 level
and 430. Yeah. 445 being the full clear with no masks, and 430 being the 2 side areas and boss.
At least you can't get a 470 or 465, right? The first 2.
Well, honestly, if you could get that Azurite at 470, some of it is pretty nice. Like for Elemental Shaman, it's one of it would be a way to get Igneous Potential and Tectonic Thunder on the same piece without doing PvP, which would be kind of nice. Like some of those Azurite pieces are kind of chilling.
They can't drop at 470 though, can they? I don't think I've seen anyone.
I've only ever seen it at 460.
Okay.
I get Azurite all the time in my 460 boxes and never at 465 or 470.
I do think that horrific vision loot automatically corrupting is actually a decent fix to the system, but I think it is a little bit too late.
Yeah, I think that what they could have done is just had corruption drop rate just go up. After the first couple weeks after Race to World First is over, just up the drop rates from all sources, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. Or maybe just like one piece of loot guaranteed corrupt from Mythic Plus, something like Raid Boss always drops at least one guaranteed corrupted piece. I don't know. They could definitely improve it a little
The
bit.
problem is that you just don't have enough. Like, there's just you don't have enough unique corruptions in your bags, especially since some of those are like Gushing Wounds is like 1 in 52.
Gushing Wounds, like it's 1 in 52, and you have to roll it on a high item level piece as well for it to be. It's not like Twilight Dev where you can wear like a 445 Twilight Dev piece and be fine.
So hard to get the right corruption. Still, it's better, but it's still hard.
Yeah, there's just like a boatload of combinations, and it's like you only want maybe a third of them, maybe 25%.
Yeah, it's tough. I really do like the upsides of corruption. Like, I really do like these interesting decisions of how much Surging Vitality, how much Twilight Dev do I run. You have these decisions of like, how much is my corruption budget, and also how do I spend it? And that's a cool.
Yeah, that's true. I do enjoy that part.
I feel like that's something that we haven't had with gear for a really long time. Is that sort of actual like serious decision making?
I am a very large fan of getting avoidance on all of my loot.
Dude, I got 3 avoidant pieces in 4 horrific vision runs on one of my guys. It was pretty,
my Guardian Druid's
epic.
weekly chests have been 2 leech pieces and 1 avoidance. No damage whatsoever.
Nice. Better than the trinkets, right? You just get 475 Midas Talisman or whatever, and you're...
Oh, my Demon Hunter also got a Midas Talisman. Hell
nice. We love those. Okay. Yeah, I think good change, and corruption has had some serious drawbacks since it came out, but and whether this has been a good change, but of course kind of late into the cycle, and we know corruption is probably going away into Shadowlands, and they probably aren't going to bring back something that looks exactly like it. But I do hope that they carry forward the good parts of it, because there has been a lot of good things from corruption too.
It feels good, right? Like it absolutely feels good whenever I play my druid with 2 gushing wounds and 7 tiers of expedient. It feels insanely strong, but then you also have the problem of like the path to get to there also felt terrible because I'm looking at other people who just randomly got it. I think that there is room for deterministic loot rewards in the game somewhat. Like not all loot in the game has to be deterministic, but I think there is room for some.
Yeah, I mean, RNG is always going to be a part of the game, but I think that you can look at like, okay, what's the average time to acquire a good gear set? What is the like variance? What's the standard deviation here between how good different people's gear is going to be? And you can take a look at those kind of numbers, and I think we those numbers were a little bit off for the corruption system. Was a common experience, and except if you were willing to buy the BOE corruptions, which was that was, I think, maybe the most egregious part of the system was that, the way that BOEs were corrupted and
auto corruption on BOEs is pretty bad. Yeah,
dude, I spent all of my gold on Twilight Devastation BOEs, and I'm regretting it now. Man, I don't know. I feel like I had to be relevant early on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. Like the top guilds spent 9 figures of gold on BOEs, and that's it was kind of interesting because like if you just had 10 million gold to throw away, you never ran into this problem of not having viable corruptions. But if you didn't, you're just sitting here like watching the Race to World First stream, and like each player has 3 BOE corrupted slots wearing their BIS corruption, and you're just like, okay, these people are playing a slightly different game than me. That's I don't think a good look.
I don't hate that they're playing a slightly different game than them. I hate that they're playing the bring out daddy's credit card game.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is you could be playing that game if you bought your cap of WoW tokens. So yeah, not the best part.
You just said your own credit card, not daddy's credit card. God, Tettles.
Every credit card that Tettles uses daddy's credit card because Tettles is daddy. All right, next.
Thank you, Dradus. I approve.
Moving on.
Moving swiftly on. We've also got a new change here for coming out yesterday. It was Blizzard has started doing 100% player experience buff. So with this experience, I maybe would have learned to not say the thing I just said a little bit ago. And it stacks with heirlooms. So that's a very quick leveling increase. If you were trying to get a character up to 120 right now, that's something that you can do probably faster than ever before. Maybe about as fast as, like, at the highest levels, Korak's Revenge was really fast too, but this is applying to all levels, so.
But it's significantly slower than the Otterbound potion bugging.
Yes, that was really fast. This is going to be interesting, though. I think that a lot of people are going to get up to 120 on some new characters. If you're trying to level a fresh alt and get it into endgame stuff, you can do that fairly quickly now. They've sped up the whole process by so much now.
But also doing a level squish going into Shadowlands too, so it may be worth your time to level up some of your characters all the way up to 120, so they're not like squished down to something that's really low, right?
Yeah, they're also speeding up leveling in Shadowlands. So the analysis that I've seen has mostly been that it's going to be about the same, like either leveling up now or in Shadowlands, but it should take about the same total amount of time. But if you do it now, you're getting it out of the way in a time that you can't spend doing Shadowlands content, right? So
true.
That's the opportunity cost is lower. This is also a good time, if you have a lot of characters at 120, you can get Heritage Armor. Doing Death Knights for Heritage Armor grind is the fastest way to do that generally. So if you want to get some Heritage Armors, now's a time to do that.
I forgot about that.
Or if you just want to get ready for the potential case in Shadowlands of wanting to have multiple characters of the same class for being in different covenants. If you're a mage main or whatever, and you only really like playing mage, and you've only ever liked playing mage, and you've never really wanted to play alts because they weren't mages, this might be a time to level up another mage or two, and then you can have different mages per covenant for each covenant, and that might be something you want in next next expansion.
Well, I do have 2 Moonkins, so maybe this is my time.
Yeah,
the 2 Moonkins got made for legendaries, though, not for anything else. That was a bad system at the beginning.
Maybe it's time to level up my level 20 Void Elf Monk.
Ooh.
It's been sitting in my character screen for like a year.
Yeah, could be fun. Apparently it only takes low double digits of hours, like 20 or something to 20, 30 to get from 1 to 120. So very, very quick.
Actually, every Mythic Plus group can level their 110 Warlock so that they can give the groups health stones when they reach 120 at every.
I mean,
that's the play.
You kind of want 10 or 12, 11 Warlocks in your group or across your M Plus group, so you can have one logged out in front of each dungeon. That's a common move that actually I've seen people with class trial Warlocks, one in front of each dungeon. Yeah,
the Didex Dorky special right there with the Shrine Rocks. Yeah,
Shrine Rocks and just a bunch of different ones.
Waycrest Rocks. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so you can do that if you want. All right, let's move on to our Q&A here this week. We've got, if you have any questions, put them in chat and we can add these as well. We can talk about these for a little bit because our show's been a little bit shorter this week, so we can maybe have a little bit of time for some questions. Our first, though, comes from @Qyzb on Twitter.
What's that?
Who asks, any useful awakened mob snapping spots we should know about?
It's Thomas. He's in chat.
@Qyzb. So, Trell, are there any useful awakened mob snapping spots that we should know about?
Yes, I've actually been discovering a couple the last few days. So in Toldagor, you take the first pillar all the way up the stairs to skip the thug, and so if you engage it, run through the sewer, and then hop on one of the little corners on the wall, it'll snap the mob up to you and make it a little faster to get up there. And I'm not really sure what's been happening with snapping. I feel like they enabled snapping on those mobs recently, because I swear I tried to snap a couple of Taldazar mini bosses 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it just didn't work. They just stared at me.
They would sit there and evade. I bet they were. I actually had a mob evade reset. I bet they did the snap to fix them from evade resetting to full, because evade resetting whenever you walk away from a mob is worse than it snapping to you, I think.
I think so too. And I started seeing the bugs happen where people leapt in the King's Rest match against Stratnos' team, and then they evaded. I think snapping got enabled on them recently. So I'm sure there's a bunch of spots you could do that with to make them go faster.
I think just generally, it's like the spider is the most notorious one, and the spirit breaker. Just getting them in position quickly is important. So there are like Toldagor is probably a really good example of a dungeon where you should probably snap the mob just to be able to move it a little bit quicker. Of course, there are some other snap spots that I'm sure are far more profitable, but I don't think there's been any that's like been like super game breaking. Oh, Shrine of the Storm actually has a
in chat. Shrine of the Storm snapping that first spider down to that little cup at the bottom of the stairs. You can open. That's a good one too, for sure.
That's a really good one because that spider takes forever to move.
Yeah, I feel like they may have changed the snapping behavior on these mobs because people are really unhappy when stuff evade resets, right? Like evade resetting is really unpleasant to have happen to you. So if that was happening a lot by accident, you can fix that by just changing them to snap instead. And if they snap and jump at you, then that, even though that can be surprising, it's not the same like this is really stupid feeling that can happen when they evade reset. So
because whenever mobs evade reset, they reset the full pack too. So like if you kill it's really bad though. Yeah.
I mean that's why snapping exists, is because it's like the least bad option for what mobs can do when they can't find a path to you. Often for like in terms of how it feels as somebody who's done it by accident.
Sure.
All right. Question from chat. Jeff DMK asks, How should Blizzard fix the lock rock requirement for Mythic Plus? I think the answer for this is when the Keystone starts, if you do not have a Warlock, as in the 5 people in the dungeon, delete health stones out of people's bags. When you zone into a dungeon, if you run out and you grab some health stones, you run back in, delete health stones out of people's bags. Like if they're
alternatively, I don't know if this is necessarily a problem, right? Because only so few people are doing this generally anyways. Is it really a problem? And if you don't have the Warlock in your group, you only get 3 health stones. Is it that bad?
I don't think it's that bad in terms of like the magnitude of the problem is not big, but like it's definitely just pure bad that people that you can do this.
It's an advantage that's annoying to deal with.
Yeah.
And the fact that they already tried to fix it, and I just don't think they realize that you can still have health stones in dungeons without warlocks, because they removed the ability to get them from the proving grounds while back, which is what everybody did. And then since they fixed that, you just invite a warlock friend or your warlock on a second account.
Well, yeah, okay. And there's an opinion in chat right now that's saying it's like not good for the warlocks themselves. I don't think it matters for the warlocks themselves. It's not good for warlocks because warlocks are bad. Like
there are stories of you getting like invited, you drop health stones, and then they kick you in LFG, but like I think
is that a thing?
That's not
if that's a thing, that's weird.
Yeah, definitely don't do that, man. Just like get on an alt or something. But yeah, I think that's probably more of a something that doesn't really happen all that much. But apparently, people in chat are saying, "Yeah, I've had that occur to me. That's a thing, lol." So
that's a weird one. I don't know about that. That is bad. I think generally health stones are not that impactful. Is more of my point.
Yeah,
they feel pretty impactful for me in Hikes as a tank, but I can see other.
They're percent health based, right? They can be pretty big for like specific pulls or just for affixes like Grievous. Getting yourself out of Grievous with a health stone, even if you only do that 3 times per dungeon, is pretty big. And you can have like your Havoc DH trade it to your tank after the tank has used all theirs, and that your tank can get more that way.
Sure.
Yeah, I've lots of memories doing like very top level keys and using 5 or 6 health stones as a tank with no warlock in the group. Like it's super.
I mean, it's useful, sure, but like, is it mandatory? Probably not.
I mean, it is an added step if you're min-maxing your dungeons. That is stupid.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree that like if we were talking about what is a good use of Blizzard's time, if this took like time to implement or whatever, maybe better to spend it on other stuff. Fine, but
they should probably just have it cleanse health stones as soon as you zone into an instance.
Yeah, I think that would be.
Well, actually, no, because then the warlock would just like walk into the instance.
Warlock would, yeah, it needs to be like on Keystone.
On the Keystone, like cooldowns resetting.
Then the warlock drops the health stones like as soon as the key starts. That would probably be reasonable.
On the topic of key starting, they could fix almost everything by just adding like an arena style buff clear on key start. Make it so that you can pre-meta, pre-incarn, stack up, your Archive of the Titans or whatever like we used to do. All of those things I think would all be fixed kind of uniformly by just making starting a dungeon clear those effects. Which, like, on the one hand, it's cool to pre-meta and everything, but on the other hand, I think it would be cooler to not have to, coordinate that every time.
Agreed.
But the pre-key start is just Mythic 0. Yeah, make it so that when the key starts, it clears all those buffs.
It should. And it should also probably reset cooldowns. I think it should even reset 2 minutes and stuff.
Sure,
like
yeah, I'd be fine with it clearing all your buffs and resetting all your cooldowns. That would be good, I think. And clearing your sated and everything. I think it does that, though. You're right.
Yeah. Good. Somebody in chat asked what level of... if we asked on our census what level of dungeons are people doing. So generally, so it looks about 65% of our people are doing keys in the range of 15 and 19s, where 22.5 are doing weekly 15s and lower, 12% are doing 20 plus, and some very small amount are doing cutting edge keys. 2.1%.
Doesn't surprise me. That sounds about what I would have expected.
Yeah.
Most
so
people in the 15 to 19 range, yeah.
So it's 35% are at 17 to 19, while 24% are 15 to 17.
That's generally where we aim our knowledge at anyway. We try to cover like the 15 to 19 key range and then add in little tidbits here and there for higher level. It's hard to target that key range sometimes though, because so many strats change as you go up.
Yeah, we try and make sure that we're making content for everybody, but it's tough for us to like know what the problems are in +7 keys because like that's just such a different thing than what we spend our time doing. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think we have desire. I think generally speaking, we don't really have desire to make content for people who are doing like 7s.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're doing 7s right now and you're interested in getting better, like you can still learn a lot of stuff from the higher level keys and like the stuff that you need to do to get better than +7s is not. There's a lot of different things you can do to start timing higher than 7 keys, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So whereas the amount of areas of improvement kind of shrinks as you get to higher keys. Okay, next question comes from Czar of the Sky, who asks, would a Mythic Plus rations item be a bad idea? It costs a currency that you gain from playing Mythic Plus, and it contains health stones, some food, maybe M Plus only flasks, that kind of stuff. Would you guys like to see like M Plus consumables that you can only use in M Plus that you can buy with M Plus currency?
I have to think about that one. I think if it was like usable outside of dungeons, that might be a bad thing.
Yeah, I would like to see this. I think this would be cool because it would be nice to not have to spend 10,000 gold for supplies from the auction house.
Yeah, that's very. So I spend like 100,000 a week.
Different crafting materials, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also understand why there's crafting and everything in the game, so I understand that. But like,
somebody did make a good point. Okay, so like if it was just for instance content and you were able to get like your Demon Hunter buff or your Monk buff or like real battle shout and stuff like that, maybe it's okay. I don't know. I feel like that like overlaps too much with professions personally, and I think that takes as much of a joke as professions are. I do think it takes away from parts of the game that probably should stay.
I believe that DH buff and Monk buff are problems that should be fixed. Like those are they should come up with a scroll or something to give us 70% effective DH buff and Monk buff like we have for Battle Shout and everything. Those are, I think,
that would be cool. Yeah.
All right. Last question comes from Snoops TW. How has this season changed in class spec tier wise? Any new best specs? And classes. Trell, what do you think?
Demon Hunter.
Okay, Vintage Demon Hunter. Yeah, I'm about that too. Yeah, Vintage Demon Hunter owns. I think Beast Mastery Hunter has been very good.
Say,
yeah, as well.
Beast Mastery is really, really strong. It just does so much damage in every situation.
Yeah,
and MDI is the classic example of every class in the key has to have like 45-second cooldowns for the most part, and Beast Mastery Hunter fits that profile very well. And on live they do plenty of damage in high keys as well, so they're just well balanced.
I definitely agree with that. I also think Fire Mage somehow has gotten even better than they were before, and Rogue has gotten significantly worse.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because Rogue is now just like it's like a 0 DPS spec that you bring literally just for the utility, and like it's still correct to bring them. Like you still bring a rogue, even though they do 0 DPS most of the time. But like I don't know, it's definitely more healthy than it was when you brought triple rogue. But it feels bad.
Play double rogue. Yeah, you used to be able to play double rogue. Dude, now double rogue is just a bad.
It's awful to have like more than one rogue in your group. You're trolling, but the first rogue I think is still pretty good. You don't need them anymore though. Like you can play without a rogue.
I think there's still Biss in several dungeons, like Atel and Toll the Gore are my two big ones that come to mind. I think possibly double Demon Hunter Fire Mage would be a better comp in general.
Yeah, or like Demon Hunter, BM Fire. I guess that runs into kick problems though, in some dungeons. But even then, it's probably not too bad. Rat Pally has been another spec on the come up that we've seen a little bit in MDI, and I think also doing pretty well on live.
I think Moonkin got worse this season.
Maybe a little bit worse than in Beguiling,
so.
yeah. I don't know. Trees have some utility, but they're like some good utility and some new utility, but it feels like a little bit less important utility.
I mean, it still has the same level of utility. Just like realistically, the downside of Moonkin is that everybody does so much on-demand fucking burst damage, and you don't get 2 sets of cooldowns unless you're actually playing Tyrannical. For some reason, bosses this season are only lasting, like on Fort, they're only lasting 2 minutes, and it's just like, all right, I just did a Fort 23. Why the fuck is that boss 2 minutes long? I'm like, I didn't get too used to my cooldowns. Okay, so like if I get too used to my cooldowns, I will actually end a boss fight at 90k DPS. If I only get one use, I only end at like 70, 75, and you're just like, all right, I guess we're fucking not doing damage here.
Yeah, it seems like something happens at the 2-minute mark where our mage lights on fire and then the boss dies. I'm not really sure what happens there.
Yeah.
Mage is so overpowered right now.
I don't actually think Enhancement is doing better. I think that one guy is just doing keys again.
Yeah, I mean he was owning with Enhancement in previous seasons, right? As well.
He was 3,800 last season. Like
right.
Good player. Like I think Holy Pally is better. I think Restored is still incredibly good though.
What do you guys think about Mistweaver? Talking about healer.
On live keys,
I think it has good potential.
I have no idea.
I think that it's going to be an MDI thing. I'm kind of not expecting to see it actually all that much in the live top keys. Like I think that it doesn't scale all that greatly into 25s like Holy Paladin does. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Mistweavers in the top keys. I just think you'll see more Holy Paladins and Resto Druids.
I would say it could possibly be A tier. Like the question was, it'd probably be a solid B tier at least, but someone might be able to push really far with it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely in that range where it's like you would not be shocked to see one. Like it wouldn't be like a huge thing of note, like it is when there's an Enhancement Shaman doing as well as one is.
It's like that. It's like that Andy Brew shit. It's not that Brewmaster Monk is that great this season. It's that Andy is a freak player.
Right.
He's a good player, and he has the best gear in the world.
Yep, those are definitely, and he's very, very intimate knowledge of the spec, and also like there's a little bit of a weird effect in these first couple months of a patch where if 100 Brewmasters have killed N'Zoth and 3 Prot Warriors have, there's a huge disparity in like how many raid geared Brewmasters there are versus Prot Warriors, right? So it takes a little bit of time to have the specs that are good in Mythic Plus and not raid start performing better than the other ones, the specs that are good in raid and not Mythic Plus. Just because of that gear. Anyways, that's an interesting topic. Maybe we'll do a longer talk about the metagame as a main topic in a future week, because I feel like we've got a lot we could talk about for that.
Yeah, for sure. That
could be a fun thing to do. But for now, that'll be where we end this week's show. Hope you guys have enjoyed. We'll be back next week for another one. Bye, everybody.